Hello. I'm going to walk you through 8 simple steps to set up the AWS portal in Deadline. Let's start by installing the remote connection server on a network machine that is always up. Double-click the Deadline client installer, read and accept the license agreement, then check the option to install the remote connection server. We can then follow the Deadline client installation steps as outlined in the online documentation. Next, let's define the AWS policy and user to connect Deadline securely to AWS. In the AWS console, Services, IAM, Identity and Access Management, under Policies, we will create a new policy by pasting code into the JSON tab. The code can be found on the ThinkBox documentation page in the Deadline documentation, AWS Portal Setup topic. Let's copy the policy definition and paste it into the JSON tab in the console. After pressing Review Policy, we can give it a name and an optional description. Once the policy is created, we can always find it by name if we need to edit it later. Next, we will create a new user called AWS Portal and check the programmatic access option. We will assign permissions by directly attaching the AWS Portal policy to the new user. Once the new user is created, AWS provides the access key and the secret access key for the new user. This is the only time these keys are accessible, so we must note them or download them as a CSV file for future reference. You should store these keys in a safe place and never share them with anyone. Now that we have configured the AWS account, let's set up the AWS portal in the Deadline monitor. First, let's make sure the remote connection server is running. We can start it from the Deadline launcher on the machine where it was installed. To see the AWS portal panel, we need to be in superuser mode. If you have not set a password for superuser mode, do so. When we open the AWS portal panel, it will ask for the access key and secret access key of the AWS portal user we created in the AWS console. The credentials can be stored between sessions, so we only have to do this once. Now let's select the nearest AWS region to our location. The region can be easily changed when launching new Deadline infrastructures on AWS. Next, let's go to the ThinkBox Marketplace and purchase some usage-based licenses. The ThinkBox Marketplace offers prepaid license credits in bundles of hours, but consumed per minute. You can find Deadline renderers such as Arnold or V-Ray, and popular content creation applications like 3ds Max and Maya. These licenses can be mixed with your permanent floating licenses and are very useful if you need to launch more cloud render nodes than you have available licenses. Next, let's configure Deadline to access the UBL license server. The purchased usage-based licenses can be managed through the ThinkBox customer portal. To allow our cloud render nodes to access these licenses, we must also download and unzip the certificates for all products we have purchased. In the Deadline monitor, we click on the setup icon of the AWS portal panel, select the remote connection server we launched earlier, leave the S3 bucket as set up by Deadline, and under the Advanced tab, pick the path to the certificates directory. Here we can also add any on-premise license servers for products we want to make accessible to our AWS render nodes. Finally, we must configure Deadline to access our usage-based license server in the cloud. An email is sent with the first purchase, containing the URL and activation code for the specific account. Two more services must be installed on an always-up machine on the network: the AWS Portal Link and the AWS Portal Asset Server. Both ship as a single installer, but could be installed separately on different machines if desired. On Windows machines, we must provide a user account that has the right privileges to access the network shares. Once again, we must provide the AWS user access keys. Then we enter the same Windows user account for the AWS Portal Asset Server, so it can access the network shares containing asset data. We can specify asset paths in this dialog, but we will do it through the Deadline monitor in the next step. Now let's configure Deadline to use the AWS Portal Asset Server. You will have to specify the actual IP address of the machine running the AWS Portal Asset Server. We can now add any number of network UNC or map paths where assets are stored. In my case, my assets are on the NAS drive mapped to the letter Z under folder Assets. This will take care of any subfolders located under that folder too. Finally, since I have usage-based licenses for various products, I need to define license limits. Since a few of the usage-based licenses, including Autodesk Arnold, Maya and 3ds Max, are only applicable to AWS Cloud rendering, we must launch a Deadline infrastructure for these UBL options to become accessible in the Deadline Monitor's user interface. Let's open a limits panel and dock it next to the AWS Portal panel. We can now add a new license limit, give it the name Maya in lowercase, and set it up to always use usage-based licenses of type Maya for any Deadline slaves working on jobs tagged with this limit. We can then do the same for any products we have purchased, like Redshift, 3ds Max, V-Ray, and Arnold. Once the infrastructure instance has been created, you have successfully completed all the steps. To put the infrastructure to use, watch the Ready to Render video.